Hello, welcome to PODnas. This is a sports show with a little bit of a southern flair. I'm Daniel Hawks. That's Jarrett Roser. Today we are recapping
Yeah,
week two of
today
college football and week one of the Saints. Jarrett, what do you have to say?
we're just in awe because what this is
It's
five
four.
straight
It's
times.
four. It's four. Technically five because even in the intro that I messed up that we had to redo last week, I got it right on the point. That was the
It's
only thing I
incredible.
got right at that intro that no one will ever see because I just screwed it up so bad.
Once you hit that third time, the charm, the NBA Jam fire
Oh
kicked
yeah.
in. You can't miss now.
That's actually how my beard got to be ginger. Is the NBA fire. All right, y'all. Let's go over what was a busy weekend for football in general, both in college and in the pros. It being week one, but let's start with the LSU Nicholls State recap. LSU wins this game 44-21. Um,
Correct.
Garrett
God, you're good.
Nussmeyer. Garrett Nussmeyer throws 6 touchdowns. He's slinging the ball everywhere. LSU defense looked iffy to say. I think that's nice. LSU really didn't pull away until the end here. Jared, I know you've got some stuff to kind of go over because you were just at the Brian Kelly press conference. What do you got for us for this game? What'd you see?
Yeah, it just felt like kind of a funky night, and coming out of it, Brian Kelly really kept coming back to the fact that it had been a short week and the team looked like they played tired. And on Saturday night, he said he felt like Nicholls State out physicaled them in the trenches. He kind of walked that back some on Monday. And I think my takeaway is somewhere in between. But there was just a lot about the night from the game to the post game press conferences and interviews with Kelly and the players that just felt like a weird kind of funky night that was not really the 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 exciting home opener bounce back from that USC game. It felt like there were some aspects that were just a little bit hungover from the disappointment of that trip to Vegas. But all in all, I think in part you have to credit Nicholls State, and folks were really surprised. I think people are still a little bit surprised by Colin Guggenheim running for everything he ran for the Colonels, but I think that's more of a matter of people not paying attention to the FCS schools than anything, because he's been doing that for the last couple of years for those guys, pretty much regardless of whoever they line up against. And so, um, offensively is where I do kind of buy into some of the dynamic of Nicholls State gave LSU more to carve up in the passing game, and so they relied on that more than going to the running game at the same time.
Yeah.
At the same time, you still, when you did run, your yards per carry were not particularly strong. And so I think that's
LSU
where I
only
say,
had 64 yards rushing as a team, and that's just,
yeah,
I think that's just a shock for LSU fans in general. I was listening to the Rosillo show. He had Marcus Spears on, and he was talking about the one thing that for years LSU could lay their hat on was defense and running.
yeah.
And that wasn't even a question. No matter who we had going into the season, fans knew that they could count on that. And it seems in a topsy-turvy world now from where we were, even 4 or 5 years ago.
It's a really weird time. I mean, there's a lot of aspects right now of that nature where a few years back, there was always the talk of the LSU football team. And if they could just figure out a quarterback to play okay, they'd be all right. Now they're in a situation where they just have a continual string of great
Yeah.
quarterbacks, and they're trying to figure out weaknesses in the secondary and at defensive tackle. And so there's just a lot of that nature where it's just a different looking football team, a different era for LSU and for college football in general. And I I buy in, certainly to some degree, the fact that Nicholls State was trying to clog the box, fill up running lanes, and making LSU have to pass. And so LSU took those opportunities and played really well in their passing game. Garrett ends up with 27 for 37 for over 300 yards. You mentioned the 6 touchdowns. He ties Burrow and Daniels as the most touchdowns the second most touchdowns in a single game for an LSU quarterback. Joe had 7 in that Oklahoma semifinal. And so there's a lot of positives in all of
Oh,
that.
that was great. Oh my goodness. Sorry. You just brought me
But
back. But yeah, go
at
ahead. Continue.
at the same time, when you did run, despite the fact of, okay, Nicholls ran damn near twice as many times. And so the fact that their totals are higher isn't necessarily shocking for a team that is a talented running offense. You only averaged 3 yards a carry when you did run the ball against, again, an FCS opponent, an FCS defense. And that number is actually brought up a little bit by a couple of Garrett Nussmeier scrambles where he had 13 yards on 2 carries. And so you averaged less than 3 yards a carry against an FCS defense for most of that game. And so there's some credence to what Kelly has kind of walked back some of his comments and said, but at the same time, not the performance in terms of controlling the line of scrimmage and winning some things on the ground that, as much as you want to take what a defense gives you, you should at this level be able to kind of enforce your will a bit against an FCS opponent. And then when you were trying to run, it was not particularly
Absolutely.
efficient.
And I'm just looking here kind of at the box score right now. Nicholls had 38 rushes that game.
Yeah.
LSU had 38 passing. I worry about going into SEC play with South Carolina this week. South Carolina is a damn good running back. And if teams are seeing kind of twice in a row that LSU can get gashed in the run game, that's going to be the focal point. So the LSU team is going to have to figure out a way to step up and stop it, or else this is just going to get worse. It's not going to get better,
Yeah. And
competition
on the flip,
only gets worse for here.
On the flip side of it, you mentioned the defense trying to slow down Nicholls. If you take Colin, who shout out former John Curtis and Louisiana bootlegger 7-on-7 quarterback, who has turned into a hell of a essentially big fullback type body in that backfield for the Colonels. If you take out his career-long 67-yard run in the third quarter, then their averages come back down to earth quite a bit to about 3 yards a carry. But and you can clean up a lot. That play looked like Harold Perkins kind of overran a gap, and so there were some plays like that where you just kind of watch film. Hopefully, some guys are execute a little bit better and things. But again, this was your SEC team at home against an FCS opponent. And to your point, this gets worse in a hurry in terms of a level of competition where you have to go on the road at 11 a.m. We talked about in the season preview, we don't love these 11 a.m. games, and they go to South Carolina, who's coming off of a great week, a week earlier. And then this just keeps snowballing into more difficult competition every single week as the season drags on. And so there's reasons to not be as down as I think a lot of people were for 2.5 quarters on Saturday, but there's still a lot of things that need to get cleaned up in a hurry.
And let's talk about a couple other things. There was a move, a defensive back moved to halfback because of LSU's, depth issues at the position with Emory going out. So do you want to speak to that a little bit? And also we got some injury news as well.
Sure. I mean, Juwan Johnson is the all-time Louisiana State record holder in touchdowns from his high school career as a quarterback at Lafayette Christian. He signed this year with LSU as a defensive back, worked a lot during camp in a star role, kind of backing up Major Burns with some second team reps in that role. And they moved him. I mean, I think late Wednesday or early Thursday, they moved him into this halfback role. And so just a couple of days of prep, he ends up getting into the end zone for the first time in his college career in this game on a little catch out of the backfield from Nussmeier. And I thought looked good in his reps on Saturday, which is really encouraging for it to be this early in his college career, as well as this early in his adjustment to running back. But he's a guy that has always been dynamic with the ball in his hands. He's always been someone that you can rely on. He looked great running over people when he was on the move as a quarterback throughout his high school career. And so I'm not really surprised to see that. I am a little bit surprised how quickly things are starting to unfold for him, because after the game Saturday and then more today, as we record on Monday afternoon, there's a lot of talk of an expectation that they can continue to get him more and more involved really quickly as a freshman who's picking up things, everything you throw at him, picking them up really quickly. And so that's going to be a kind of cool storyline to watch for him throughout this season. And then the flip side, yet another injury, which was something I was watching all Saturday night, how banged up guys were getting. At one point, Nussmeier walks out for a while. At one point, Kyron Lacey walks out for a while. And you're just wondering, after the last week or so, how bad is this injury bug biting LSU? And the big loss coming out of Saturday is Jacobian Guillory, the big veteran defensive tackle who is now out for the season with an Achilles. And so a position where you looked at him as kind of the leader of a position room where there were some question marks and you were waiting to see how it came together around him. Now suddenly he's gone from the top of that depth chart, and you need more guys to step up here in a hurry and kind of hold down a pivotal position in the middle of that line.
We will keep you updated as it goes. Hopefully this injury bug for LSU is over after this week. And hopefully, if the guys that are injured are not out for the season, they can get back quickly. Cause I think depth is just a huge thing for this team. And that's what it feels like. And, the more and more injuries you have, I'm not saying anything new here, the harder it gets. And SEC schedule again, sound like a broken record here, but it is what it is. It's only going to get harder from here. I really, hope, like what you said, get in the film room, see some of those blown coverage, see some of those, like the Harold Perkins, just kind of overshooting something. Like he's a good enough, smart enough player to be able to fix that. And, those mistakes are going to happen. It's a game played with an oblong ball on 100-yard field. You don't know what's going to happen. So hopefully, those can kind of be fixed, but we'll see. We'll see as we go. Let's move on. Tulane, ULM all had games this weekend. Tulane barely doesn't get it done against Kansas State. I know we had both picked that in our pick'em. Jared, you were able to watch this game because I couldn't watch it because I was working, and I work at a bar that has DirecTV, and Disney and DirecTV are in a little lover's quarrel, and now no place that has DirecTV can watch, or home that has DirecTV can watch anything that's ABC or ESPN or SEC Network, because it's a money grab. Curse jar. We haven't had a curse jar in a while, but damn it, this is the most frustrating thing I think I can ever. It makes me so upset. It is so stupid. The only thing that this is hurting are like the customers who want to watch the game. It's two giant companies that can't just get their together. It's so irritating. Like, do you know how annoying it is when you either go to a bar, you want to go out, you want to have a couple drinks, watch some football, but the bar can't do anything because they can't play the game. We're streaming a game off of someone's personal ESPN Plus. Not that we would do that. Because you guys can't get it together. Get it together, ESPN. Good, like Mickey, why don't you get your head out of your and get it together?
The magnitude of this is the firstest of world problems. The fact that this level of tirade just happened over.
Oh my God. It affects my money. It affects everyone that I'm working at the bars with money that are like literally just this is our busy season. This is for sports bars. This is like the Mecca. This is when a lot of people, unless it's in Chicago, you're working in Wrigley during Cub season, you are going to make your most money. So haggling, DirecTV and Disney haggling over channels and prices, because DirecTV doesn't want to buy Discovery Channel and Disney won't let Discovery Channel go. Like, whatever. Like, it is so stupid, and it affects the people that I work with. It affects their ability to live. So while yes, it is a first world problem, it's a very real issue when people don't want to go out to the bar if they don't know they're going to see the game there.
So yeah, Tulane had a great chance late in that one at Ullman Stadium on Saturday. I guess by the time it was the end, it was Saturday afternoon. We kicked that thing off at 11 a.m. But they led that game 20-10 at halftime. I thought they had opportunities to lead by more, but couldn't cash in on those. And then the third quarter just couldn't really get much done. Kansas State comes back. You end up with a busted coverage on a 4th and short that Kansas State was going for, and suddenly a 45-yard touchdown, and you're tied 20-all going into the fourth quarter. A big mistake by a young quarterback running around, kind of, holding the ball loosely as he tries to look look for some things and create, and it turns into a scoop and score, go-ahead touchdown for the Wildcats in the fourth quarter. That said, Darian Mensah and the Green Wave bounced back well and still have that chance late. Some controversy at the end. I thought, a I guess I'm cursed jar as well.
We're gonna be at like $40 at the end of the day. we were like 28 before the episode.
I didn't mean to do that, but it's contagious. We've been bit by the profanity bug. And so the call against Dante Fleming on the alleged pick play situation negates a potential Yule Keith Brown touchdown catch from Mensah, and backs the Green Wave up, and they can't get it done, and ends up being a 34-27 loss. I thought really tough to have that sort of a missed opportunity in a game of that magnitude for a team that's trying to battle and be a top G5 team in the country. At the same time, the way that the Green Wave weathered some of that storm, weathered the fumble miscue and some things, was encouraging, and interested to see how they head up now to Oklahoma and shake back from that loss. I mentioned it in a takeaways video from the game, kind of in more detail. You want to have taken care of enough during that game on both sides of the ball to not be in the situation to have that penalty decided. But at the end of the day, that's kind of the way it all shook out. That was the biggest matchup in the state on Saturday, and one of the two that I had a chance to go to on Saturday. You mentioned a couple of others. The Cajuns go out to Kennesaw State, take care of business. ULM got a really big win, 32-6 against UAB, a game that they did not allow UAB a touchdown, 2 field goals in the first half, and then shut the Blazers out after halftime. And so a really nice performance by Coach Vincent's Warhawks. We talked about it last time. It was big for them to get a win against Jackson State to end that skid that they ended last season on. Now they start this season 2-0, and so a lot to be excited about for those guys up in Monroe. Grambling State and Southern both win in the SWAC. The Southland schools struggled. Honestly, Nicholls maybe had as good of a performance as anyone. And so that's kind of the around the state in a hurry.
Around the state recap. And lastly, we'll just go over quickly. Saints take care of business versus the Panthers, 47-10. It was not close. It was 30-0 with seconds left in the half. The Panthers are awful. They're just as bad as you thought. I thought that maybe the Saints might stumble. My pessimism got in the way. I'll eat crow there. They came out and took care of business. I do think this has a lot to say that just the Panthers team and organization is just in a rough spot.
Yeah. So I'm certainly more encouraged by the Saints right now than I was going into that game. The fact that they handled the business to that extent, they end up scoring more points in a season opener than ever before. The only 2 previous times I think they'd scored 45 or more in September were both, week 1 and week 2 to start the Super Bowl season. And so to see this team come out and click the way they did for the most part against the Panthers, I think gives you some reasons to be more optimistic than we were necessarily finding at one point. And I don't know.
I told y'all to start Rashid Shaheed. Okay. Let's just go on record that I made a correct call.
I don't know how much you look at and say, okay, Derek Carr in his second year in New Orleans, some things maybe he's getting comfortable. How much is, great hire with Clint Kubiak coming in New Orleans and what all that means. But definitely more encouraged about the Saints season ahead today on Monday than I was 2 days ago on Saturday. At the same time, I think the bigger takeaway is that this Carolina team that folks thought, okay, they're going to take a step forward this year.
It's a long season, but
yeah. I think they looked pretty rough.
Yeah, and shout out also Foster Moreau, second leading total receiving yards for the Saints. Former LSU Tiger, had a touchdown as well. Was second on the team in targets. Kamara and Rashid Shaheed were first, both with 5. Foster Moreau at 4, but he could be a thing. As well as Taysom Hill getting some run, and he was kind of the utility life like we thought he was going to be. It's going to be a feast or famine with him, depending on I think what the matchup is. But the Saints are also winning so much, you don't need to let a lot out of the I guess the book, the briefcase. I don't know what I was trying to say here.
Out of the playbook.
Yeah,
Out of the
sure.
bag. You
Yeah,
could have
out of
just
the
said
bag.
bag.
I could have said bag. Hey, I'm still thinking about the DirecTV Disney thing. I'm gonna be honest
Oh,
with
I can tell. There's an angst to you right now. Just there's an edge. Um,
you. Oh
yeah,
yeah,
you mentioned Foster, former Jesuit High and LSU star. Everything he's gone through with the Hodgkin's lymphoma stuff.
yeah,
I mean, what 18 months ago he was diagnosed, and so to see him playing for the hometown team, getting in the end zone in the middle of a really exciting day overall for the team was certainly awesome.
yeah. And we can't wait to see it. Football's back. As much as I'm complaining about, first world problem stuff, football is back. It's fun. Can't wait. I also can't wait to see these high school top plays. So we're gonna do 4 for you this week, Jarrett. Let's go. This is gonna get me back. The angst will be gone after I see these kids ball out. All right.
Sure. We just talk about the great story with Foster Morrow, and I was in Tad Gormley Stadium in New Orleans on Thursday, where Foster and the Blue Jays played all the bulk of his high school games. And another interesting story where Central of Baton Rouge goes down to New Orleans to play De La Salle, and a car accident the afternoon before the game ends up with 3 offensive starters injured, one guy who was still in the hospital on Thursday night, and teammates wearing all of those guys' jersey numbers. And a senior DB, Blazin Stoken, is our first play of the week candidate. He's wearing his injured quarterback and best friend Jackson Furman's number 3 jersey, and late as they're trying to hold on to a newly established lead, he has this interception of a throw that kind of ricochets off of a wide receiver's hands, just
Oh
focus,
wow.
pulls it down, um, hits a little, cramped, stanky leg there situation. And so good for Blazin and those guys. They start the season with a 14-3 win on the road, despite everything that they'd gone through over the course of last week. Another adjusted game situation. This one was a little bit earlier on Friday than usual, and had to be moved to the Superdome because of some of the weather that hit South Louisiana on Friday. Lafayette Christian has a really nice performance against Archbishop Rummel in the Superdome. Rummel ends up winning, but this nice play that was sent in from Lafayette Christian Academy of senior DB Chris Hilaire playing a ball thrown to the end zone and coming away with an interception.
Ooh,
A guy that has made a lot of those type of plays the last couple of years for the Knights, and
the
is
helmet catch.
a key player to watch on that defense as the Knights try to get back to that Superdome later this year to end the season. Special team. Oh, go ahead.
Can I be honest? I think I liked the slow-mo celebration just as much as the play. All right, yeah, what do we got next?
Next, we have Zion Russ, a defensive back for Walker High, who had 2 special teams returns for touchdowns on Friday night against Ponchatoula. This is Zion with a punt return there in the first half, where he catches the ball on the hop really well and is gone in a hurry, finds a lane, hits a little stutter here toward the end, makes another guy miss right after the stutter. And so nice
He
special
is
teams
so
play.
fast. Oh my god.
One of a couple really, really impactful special teams play from Zion, who I'd seen in the Jamboree the week earlier against Denham Springs, which Denham won that Jamboree, but Zion was one of my kind of eye catcher performers. I thought he played well as a versatile defensive back, and you could tell even with limited opportunities in the return game that he was a guy that was going to be able to kind of create some things there. A place where he fills big shoes from Jaden Berdala's senior, who returned touchdowns seemingly every week last year for the Wildcats, and now Zion starting on the right foot there with a couple of week 1 returns.
He looks like, like if you've ever like gotten a kid's meal and you get like one of those little cars that you like crank back and then it just shoots out. That's what he looked like off of this punt return. That was great.
You saying that makes me wish we were doing this last year and you could have seen some of the Jaden highlights because it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, the game that I stood in the monsoon for 4 hours on Friday, where Catholic High comes back and beats Destrehan with a late touchdown. I actually went from going with as a candidate the game winner by Jaden Miles to a little bit of an opportunity to watch a big man get in the end zone. We enjoyed Kenneth Boston so much last week. We have a 2-point conversion here from a Louisiana Tech committed offensive lineman in the first half, watching Big Irv Smith celebrate his birthday eve before his birthday on Saturday.
Oh, big boy. He took out that dude. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, we might as well watch Irv again. He said he doesn't know that he's had a chance to score any points at any level of high school ball, really going back to when he was a young guy playing youth park ball. But a lot of guys were having trouble catching the ball in the rain, not Big Irv Smith. And then he quickly takes off and no one's really stopping him once he sees the goal line. And so that is the fourth candidate of the 4 for the week that we're looking at. Again, folks can vote on social media for that. But Blazin Stoken of Central Baton Rouge, Chris Hilaire of LCA, Zion Russ of Walker High, and Irv Smith of Catholic Baton Rouge.
And we would love you to go to our Instagram, PODnas_LA, and vote on which one you think is the top play of the week. We will announce it on our show later this week. That'll be coming out on Thursday or Friday. Another great week of plays.
Yeah.
I said this earlier. Football's back. It's just so great. It's just the best. That did get me out of that funk, by the way.
Good. And folks, I've tweeted about it from the Louisiana versus All Y'all account on Twitter. But if you have candidates on a given week, try to send them in some way, shape, or form. During the course of the weekend, we're usually recording these recap videos on Monday where we'll have some of the top plays and announce some candidates. But if you get a chance on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday morning, send them in.
Absolutely. And hey, that is going to be it for us today. Jared, do you have anything else you want to plug before we get out of here?
No, that's it, man. We're into the flow. All of the preseason build up and preview content's out the way, and we're getting into more of a routine and more highlight action and post game interviews and all that stuff. And so it's just good to kind of be back into the thick of it.
Yep, absolutely. That is all for us today. You can go to the Louisiana versus All Y'all YouTube page to find a bunch of content on Louisiana recruiting and Louisiana sports. Please follow us on PODnas_LA for more content there. You can follow Louisiana versus All Y'all on Twitter. Find it on Facebook. I'm at Hawks Can Fly. If you want to go there and see what kind of life I'm living, whatever. We will want to hear from you. Please like, share, comment on this video. Like I said, that is all we got for you today. Podnas out.
And it's a ticket talking margin for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I've been comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it.